Okay, in this video we're going to be talking about text shadow. So I have some text here and I've centered it and it's pretty big and I want to add a shadow to it. So the text shadow property in CSS allows you to add shadows, and there are a couple of parameters. There's so if we type in text shadow, the first parameter it would be the x-axis. So if I make this 12 pixels, if then the y-axis, I make that 12 pixels, and I just finish that, that would be my shadow, and the shadow gets the color from the actual text itself. So you can see what's happening here. So there's a third value, it's a blur value. So if I make the blur value 6 pixels, let's say, then I get a blur effect. So that looks a little bit more like a shadow. And then the last value is the color of the color of the shadow, essentially. Now you can specify a color with a hex value. Let's say I say DDD. Now it's a lighter shadow. Or you could use RGB. So if I say RGB, I can say 0, 0, 0. That would be black. But typically what you want to use is RGBA, because then you can specify opacity with the last value. So there's 4 values for RGBA: red, green, blue, and alpha. So if I say 0.5, it'll give me a 50% shadow, 0.3, etc., right? So you can control the opacity of the shadow. Now, with this simple example, I'm only using a set of 4 values here, but you can chain those values together and you can create some really interesting dimensions and shapes. So I'm going to go back to my work here and show you another example. Here we go. So you can see here I have some text, very, very basic text centered on the screen, pretty large. But in the text shadow, there are several lines of code that make this shadow up. So the first 10 sets, so this all the way up to 10, you can see that it's a 1 pixel by 1 pixel, 1 pixel blur. And the blur stays the same, but you can see that the offset changes. So the X doesn't move, but the Y does. So that gives this appearance, the first drop shadow appearance. So, and then this last set with the RGBA values gives the outer shadow appearance. So this is the way of layering shadows one on top of each other. And all you need to do is just separate these statements with commas, and then the last one you need to close, and then you can create some really interesting shadows. So that's the text shadow property, and go ahead and try to add that into your projects, maybe on a header, but don't abuse text shadow. You don't want to use it everywhere, so just keep that in mind.